Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Nurture the Mind. It is your host, Cole Poots, and today I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. I just had the energy to get on here and to start recording a podcast. So basically, bear with me. I don't know where this is going to go. I never really know where it's going to go. I may have a few topics in mind, but then let's just see what happens. Let's see where it goes, what we explore. Hold on, let me take a drink of water. Okay, the first thing, I guess a point to start out is today is March 18th. It is Saturday, 2023. And in 3 days, March 21st, I will be 26 years old. So I guess I'll start there. I'll just address that because I know last year I made a video right around the time that I turned 25, and it was basically 25 things that I've learned in my life, like concrete, solid truths or facts, things that I've learned, lessons that I've learned along the journey. Maybe this will kind of be an extension of that. 26. I guess I'll just speak on what happened this last year. So back in April of 2022 is when I got a job as a personal trainer at Anytime Fitness, Norwalk, Iowa. Something that I wasn't necessarily qualified in terms of, that wasn't my expertise. My boss, Joe, he told me the reason that he hired me was because of my personality, the way that I carried myself, who I was as an individual. And he said, we can train all those specifics, the concrete of being a personal trainer / coach. We can guide you along the way, now that you're on the team. And so, so I started working there April 4th of 2022. So I'm coming up on my year anniversary there. Definitely a big leap of, I guess, growing that I've undertaken by being there. I think anytime you start a new job, it's always, even if you feel like you're somewhat qualified or you feel like you can do a good job, there's just a lot of unknown factors. You don't really know how things are going to trickle over. You don't know the environment. You don't know anything about the coworkers. And so there's just a lot of anxiety when you first start. And I remember having a shit ton of anxiety when I first started, and that went on for a while. I would say I've gotten fairly comfortable, but I still have tough days. And that's mainly just my own mental shit, mainly the anxiety and the things that go on in the back of my head. But it's been a very fulfilling experience. I've met so many cool people. I've made so many connections. I've had great conversations. I've loved building connections with my clients. Some that I feel like, depending on how long I do this, I'll still stay in contact with them. We'll be friends for, essentially the rest of my life. And so, those are some really cool things that I didn't expect. I think probably the biggest area that I've grown in over this last year, I may have talked about it on previous videos. I'm not entirely sure, but I've spent the better part of the last year at Anytime Fitness, because this is really my first job, first professional career driven job out of college, because I graduated college back in July of 2021, and then I stayed at the job that I was using through college to pay the bills. I was working part-time there when I was in college so I could obtain my degree. When I graduated, I went full-time there. I did that for a little bit, but I don't know, it didn't really feel like your typical full-time job. So I would consider Anytime Fitness as my first real adult job. And COC might be a little bit of, it definitely is an adult job, but I didn't really see myself going very far with that job, even though I'm still technically working there as a sub. So yeah, Anytime Fitness, that's really like my first adult job. And I guess one of the biggest things that I've noticed this year, biggest areas where I've grown is I've spent all that time alone, so I've gotten much better at handling ups and downs. Mainly, I would say, like in my mental health journey, because not to get too much into it, I've already talked about it quite often on this channel and on this podcast, but a lot of my issues stem from like anxiety and a little bit of obsessive compulsive things, or maybe I'm a little inattentive at times. Like I think I sometimes have like some type of form of ADHD, which like who doesn't nowadays, because we're so distracted by the technology, the phones, the screens, all that shit that we have. But throughout this last year, because I haven't been in a relationship since March of last year. I've talked to a few girls within this last year, but nothing has really materialized into a relationship. And, getting my structure and my routine down with the job, I've gone through a lot of ups and downs. I think like most humans, that's inevitable in life. It's not something that you can escape, and you would never want to eradicate the challenges that you have. Well, you would, but you want to get through those challenges. What I meant to say is you don't want to be absent of challenges in your life if that's what you wish for. It's not a reality of life. Like we all struggle with something. We all have battles. We all have demons. We all face adversity. We all, go through some type of struggle. And I don't know. Growing up, I was a little bit more codependent, like especially on my mother, and then maybe a little codependent with my therapist. But this last year, I've had to just, basically bare knuckle it and say, I'm going to struggle from time to time, and that's okay. And I obviously reach out to people, like don't keep everything inside of you. But you don't have to always go to somebody, when you're having an issue. And I think that was a big learning moment for me and a realization for me, because I had done that in the past. And so I think this last year I just have relied a lot more on myself. And I'm a big believer in going that independent route. I think more people in our society should probably try to do that. I know a lot of people, like friends or like people that I grew up with, or even people that I'm around now, that they basically have to be in some type of relationship, or they always have to be around friends or family. And if you're that type of person and you love that interaction, like I'm not hating on you and I'm not telling you to go a certain route or a certain way. Just know that I guess the way that I look at it is, if you want to benefit from all of those relationships in your life, I think it is your duty to kind of go through your own independent journey and still being around people from time to time. I'm not saying isolate yourself for an entire year. I'm just saying get to know yourself a little bit more. Spend some more time with yourself. And I think over the course of that part of the journey throughout your life, I think you'll come to a deeper understanding of who you are, and in turn that's going to lead to you attracting the right people that should be in your life. I don't know. I think it's something that people should go through, because especially, when you're in high school, when you're in college, and I remember what it was is you always felt like a loser, especially on the weekends. If you didn't have plans, you didn't have people to hang out with. And that even kind of followed me into college, and probably even a few years ago before I got this apartment. And I don't think that's a healthy mindset to be in. I think you have to be able to enjoy time on your own to, forge the right relationships like as you get older. Mainly, I think like who you choose your partner, who you choose to be your partner, because like I said, I know people that hop around their pretty much their entire adult life, and then even when they were an adolescent, they've basically always been in some type of relationship. And it's like, it's just sad, because I think those people, it's that codependency. They always have to be in a relationship with somebody because they're too scared to like face the, a little bit of loneliness, a little bit of isolation, a little bit of an experiment of being alone. And I get why it's scary, but honestly, like, it gets so much better with time. And maybe it's just because I view myself as an introvert. And so, and I think even if you're an extrovert, I think to some degree, everybody needs a little bit of alone time. Like, you need time to go introspective, to dive into who you are, to ask yourself, to basically reflect and make sure that you're on the right path. Because if you were always like consumed by people, if you were always consumed by noise, because that's really what happens when you're always around people, you're consumed by noise. Sometimes you're around the wrong people. But if you never have that period to like go into yourself and reflect on how the week was, what were the good days, what were the bad days, what were the things that pissed you off or put you in a bad mood, if you don't ever take the time to do that, I think you're just kind of floating through life. And maybe there are some people that are just super extroverted that can handle that and also have some simultaneous balance of like clearing out all the debris inside their headspace. But I am definitely not one of those people. I have to be on my own. And I think especially in my profession, being a personal trainer, so you got clients, and each session with a client is 45 minutes, and you also have consultations that you do with new members, trying to recruit them to come on for personal training, and those sessions are an hour. So my day is pretty full with just, well, not even a day. I guess my entire week, Monday through Friday, that's the work week, is full of conversations and interactions. And so I like to find any type of mental stability. I have to utilize the weekends to some degree by being on my own. And I don't know if it's healthy, because I think I get pretty comfortable and I don't reach out to people, to friends. Like I said, haven't been in a relationship in about a year. I've tried. I've linked up with a few women. Just hasn't worked out. And I don't know. That's my hypothesis is you gotta be alone. You gotta be alone more often. And as much as the loneliness, that lonely feeling, like as I get it, I experience it quite often. It arises. It's now, I think it's a little bit more faint, but it also is a reminder too. Like, I wouldn't want to live this way forever. Like, I do want to find somebody. I want to have a family. I want to find a partner that's right for me. It's just, I don't know, man. This culture that we live in, this society that we live in, it's so easy to like isolate. It's basically set up that way to isolate people. And then on top of that, like being 26, being a fucking bachelor, like the dating market is so screwed. And there's so many things that are wrong. I'm not saying it's one side versus the other. Like, men have their own problems of not executing, not being disciplined, not trying, not being mission focused, purpose focused. But also women, women have, I probably can't speak as accurately for that side. I guess what I witness is, because I've tried the dating apps, or I guess more recently, some of the girls that I've talked to, there's a theme of like self-sabotage, where I'll be talking to a girl and she'll basically, come up with reasons why this can't work, and it's sad. It's sad that, again, men and women alike, I think it's both. I don't know if it's like one party over the other, but they don't really put in the effort to grow a relationship and be in a serious relationship. And and try hard and get through those trials and tribulations, because you're going to have that in any relationship, especially if you are an individual that has your own opinion. Like, you're not going to agree with everybody, even your loved ones. You're not going to agree with them all the time. And so that's been really frustrating. I would say, like, since 2021, so in recent memory, there was about 3 girls that I've either talked to or dated that self-sabotaged. And I mean, there were some like legit concerns. There's some legit things that like we had to work through. But instead of, really trying to solve the problem and being open-minded and listening, they couldn't commit. They basically walked away. They basically said, like, no, this is too hard. Like, I can't do that. It's like, I don't know. It's sad, man. It's sad. I'm not above anybody. I'm not perfect, but again, like, spending all this time alone, like, I know myself a lot more, and like, I just feel, I can't help but feel to some degree that I am just a different type of person, a different type of man, especially for my age. Like, the way that I think and the things that I value, it's like, I don't know, I'm very logical. I'm very built on like rationale and facts. And it's just like, I don't know. I think most people, their default is to be highly emotional, irrational, to basically just go off the hinge, to basically, I don't know, not work through things. And I'm not trying to be like all, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not trying to be like this do or die mentality, but like, I think part of the frustration over the last year is like, dude, like, when am I going to find that person? And I think a lot of people have that thought in their head. I don't think I'm the only one that's ever experienced that. And I know I'm still young. I know I still have a lot of time. I'm just saying, like, fuck, each year passes by, and like, I haven't been in a long-term relationship since 2019. So it's been about 4 years, and I was a lot younger back then. I was like 21, 22. So my perspective has shifted a lot since then, and because of the things that I've been through, I think I have a better understanding of how relationships should work. I may not be the best at communication. I know that's one of my downfalls, but that's something that, I mean, you can try and work on that on your own, but you really can't get very far. Like, because especially if you're like independent, you don't really hang out with people, more of an introvert like myself. And I also don't really get on my phone. That bothered the last girl that I was talking to. She basically felt like I was not interested because I was not on my phone all that often. I'm like, that's a complete assumption on your part. I'm very interested. I choose to live a life where I am not consumed by my phone, because I could not live with myself if I lived that lifestyle. I mean, my life would just basically pass me by, and it already is passing me by with trying to get away from the phone. So like, why would I add to that, And the best moments in your life, you don't remember looking at a fucking screen. You remember being around people, being around the people that you love, traveling, new experiences, opening up your perspective and your mindset, doing the things that you always said you were going to do, concerts, fucking sporting events, like all that shit. And I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm kind of like losing my train of thought. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just frustrating. Oh, it's frustrating to feel like I have so much to offer to somebody, but I can't find that person. And again, I don't think like that's the full mindset. It's just, it feels that way sometimes after failed attempt, after failed attempt, after failed attempt. And I know that I could take blame in some of the relationships not working out too. I'm not putting this on past lovers, past girlfriends, past people that I was talking to. That's not what I'm saying. But again, me knowing myself, like I try very hard when it comes to relationships. Like I will go to the bitter fucking end until that thing is about ready to crash. And that's why two of my longer relationships, my serious relationships, those really burn me and hurt me a lot, like emotionally. So yeah, when I do settle into that person that I really like, that I've grown to like, that I can see a future with, I hold on to the bitter fucking end, man. But again, things that I've learned. So like when you start talking to somebody now, as you get older, you realize like it's not smart to invest 100% of yourself into that person when you first meet them. That's just a bad move. That's a recipe for disaster because you don't know much about them. So why would you do that? Give it time, let it materialize, see where it goes. And yeah, I guess this is just basically one big rant for me on kind of the struggles over the last year. It's been like isolation, and it's a double-edged sword. Being alone, getting better at like knowing who I am, being more confident in who I am, but kind of trading being around people, finding a relationship for that, you know? And so that's what creates that lonely feeling. And I've just, again, it's kind of been like this up and down sort of roller coaster for the last year of basically fluctuating through those emotional states, those thought patterns, those feelings. There's times where it really doesn't bother me and I really feel good about where I'm at. And then there are times where I feel completely just decimated by where I'm currently at. Like I get frustrated sometimes about where I'm at. Like I'm like, fuck man, I should be further. I should be further along. I should have like found my person by now. And I don't know. One of the bigger realizations that I've had recently is like a big ass fucking fear of mine is like going through this life and not achieving all the things that I know I'm capable of. And it makes me want to, like, this apartment that I've been living in for 2.5 years has been a great apartment, but I do want to move out. I do want to go to like maybe like a new town or something. I was thinking about moving up to Norwalk, and then I'd be, right next to my work. But I think we all kind of reach these moments in our lives where I wouldn't even say that I'm complacent. I think that I'm ready to grow even more. I'm ready to ascend. I'm ready to go to the next level. And by doing stuff like that, even just switching up your micro routines that you have throughout your days, I think is super important because it gives you, just a little bit of a new spice to life. Otherwise, so this is another thing that I've faced since going, full time at this job, is just like this feeling of redundancy, this feeling in adulthood that a lot of adults could attest to, is you feel like you're just doing the same shit every single day, and then even on the weekends, and it's like, it's super unsatisfying, man. And it's like, it's a scary place to be, because I feel like as humans, we should all, not that we should feel happy 100% of the time, because that's unattainable. Like, people like that are probably actually very miserable, because you can't be happy all the time. It's just not possible. But, I don't know, like the thing that I strive for is like the feeling of being alive. Like, how could I translate that into words? I'm sure you guys all know what I'm talking about. Like, the purest example I could give is back in 2021, especially that summer, I went through a spiritual transformation after a breakup that I went through. And I was not expecting to that. I started praying to God. I started opening up myself to other possibilities. I started walking outside every single day for 45 minutes. The start, I had been doing it for a while, but distancing myself from my phone. I would journal in the morning. I would always journal in the morning. I would meditate in the morning too. Like, I had a really good routine. Go to the coffee shop. I was finishing up my last class at Simpson, and it was online that summer. It took me about 8 weeks to finish, and things just started to transpire. I just started to feel so much better about myself. My confidence started to rise. A lot of the mental issues that I've always struggled with, they started to decrease. Always struggled with people pleasing and perfectionism. Like I said, like kind of that OCD mindset, a lot of that went away, or it was diminished. I wasn't having as many struggles. My YouTube channel, I started doing music reactions real consistently. And I was getting a lot of views, a lot of subscribers, likes. People were tuning in. My channel, that was the biggest my channel ever grew, like in that period of time, in that window of time. And then I met a really amazing girl that I was talking to for about 2 months. And she's just one of those people, like, not to put, you should never put people on a pedestal. And I hope that I have not done that. But this chick in particular was, she was great. She was a great person. She had really good values, really good belief system. She believed in Christ. This was when I was kind of opening myself up to the idea of God. I believed in God at that time. I felt him move me. And I don't know how else to describe that. It's something that you have to feel for yourself because it's your own experience. So how could you really put a label on it? It's like especially when I go on these walks in nature, and then I started doing this every day. That's when I would really try to talk to him, and I'd always just be so moved. Like sometimes I'd even cry, and not even like negative tears or bad tears or sad tears. It was just like tears of joy. Like, fuck, man, I haven't felt this way in a long time. A lot of my issues started to develop, and well, I probably had them as a kid, but it really got bad as I got older, like especially my early 20s, like 20, more or less 21, 22. That's when things got real bad. 2019, I've talked about that before, my biggest rut with anxiety and depression. And ever since then, it's just been like a whole lot of work to, find methods and techniques that could help me get through that stuff. But yeah, getting back to the summer thing, I met that chick. Everything just seemed to be going in the right direction. And I'm very thankful for that time. I think a lot of people may never have that experience that I did. I don't know how to describe it other than a spiritual transformation. And I think like that's what we should be after. That feeling of being alive, the feeling of, it felt like every day for those 4 months, I was moving forward. I was progressing. I was getting better as a person, working on my confidence, trying to face fears. If I had to have an argument with a coworker at work, do it, even though that terrified me. Being a people pleaser, like really just setting boundaries was tremendous for my mental health. And I'll never forget that point in time. And because I had that experience, I feel like I can get back there. And I feel like that's what we should all be striving for. I feel like that's what we should aim for. And again, I don't think you can keep this feeling forever, because again, that's just kind of unrealistic. But just knowing that is possible, just knowing that it's possible, that like there's so much more out there. There's so much power that our minds have, the power of visualization, trying to manifest things, like putting out good intentions into the universe. It's the input output. What you give to people, what you give to the world is somehow what you're going to receive at some point. And so I think moving into this next year, hold on, let me take a drink. As I turn 26, going into this next year before I turn 27, I think some big changes are going to happen. I mean, I've certainly been thinking about this pretty much all winter. I love this apartment, but I've been here for 2.5 years. I'm making more money now. I'm ready to go to something bigger, like a townhouse, potentially in a different town, a town that I did not grow up in, because I grew up in Indianola and I still live here. I went out to Ames, Iowa for 3 months, but that experiment didn't work. So I think it's, I don't know, I'm just ready for something new, and there's like an unsatisfied feeling, like I'm unsatisfied with where I'm at right now. And I think that's a very powerful motivator. Like if you didn't have a feeling like that, how could you ever like get yourself to act or to go in the right direction? So many people are just okay. Like they're just okay with being complacent and staying in the same place. Like that's not me. I mean, I may get myself in that place sometimes, but I don't like to stay there very often. And that's the key, is just being aware of where you're at and admitting it, and then trying to take the actions necessary to move forward. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be a good year. I don't know. I mean, that is my guess. I mean, as you get older, all you really have is more knowledge, more expertise, more patience, more understanding, more wisdom. I mean, that's just the way it is with life, is you have to go out and get some type of experience. And although I'm proud of like all the progress that I've made, especially over the last 5 years. I mean, I really wish, I want to go find some old podcasts that I did with my best friend Dakota and then put them on this channel. But like, if you guys could have met me when I was 21 or 20, and you know, now listening to me talk now and seeing like what the evolution has been, what the transformation has been like people would be shocked. And that's, I guess, like another piece of advice for whoever stumbles upon this video and listens to this is, you should always be, I think the goal of life is to constantly be improving, to be evolving, to be challenging yourself, to be getting better. Because if you don't, what are you doing? I mean, it's just like you're taking up space, and I don't think that's a fun way to live. I feel like it's the way that I've felt at various points throughout this last year is like I feel like I've been rotting or decaying on the inside because I feel like, God, like something's got to give, something has to change, you know? And yeah, we've all been there before. We've all had periods in our life where it just felt like everything was quite redundant, but that's just a call to action, man. That's just a call to change. So I hope you guys can pick out something from what I just talked about. It was a very long conversation about just this last year, me turning 26 in a few days. As always, as I mentioned at the end, yeah, if you got anything from it, please share the message. Please share it with your friends. Tell people about it that might want to check out my channel and the things that I talk about, because I'm very passionate about these things. Again, I didn't know where this was going to go. I felt compelled to get on here and speak about something, and this is where it went. But yeah, like the video, share it, man. Fucking subscribe. I appreciate all that stuff. That's what really helps the YouTube algorithm, getting more of my content out there to you guys. And as always, you know, if you guys have any ideas or you want to have any discussions, you want something that you want me to cover something. I mean, I know I'm 26, like I can't offer too much advice, but I'm willing to explore these things. I love having conversations with people, so reach out to me, comment, you know. If you got a question for me, I will do my best to answer it in an honest fashion. Anyways, that's the video, guys. Hope to see you next week. Really see you on the next video. Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye. Love you guys.